It's your man Kill right back at you with another edition of Mail Mondays on TillDeathInfo.com. For the past this is the fifth week, we've been doing a series. Rise and myself have been doing a series on the 7 things you need to get straight before you get married. Because if you don't have these 7 things straight, it's going to be some hoopla in your marriage. We trying to save the unmarried folk from dealing with the hoopla, trying to help out some married folk to get some hoopla out their life. So, quick rundown. The first thing was you're unwilling to put another's needs before your own. That's number one. Number two, you are easily offended. You don't want to forgive nobody. You hold grudges. Number three is you are abusive, verbally, physically, mentally, however you chop it up, you're abusive. Number four, you're unequally yoked. Y'all don't share the same values, the same belief systems, none of that. And now this week, number five, we're dealing with addictions. You should not get married if you have unresolved addictions. Now, the first thing for me is defining addictions and things like that, because I think most folk have addictions, but truth be told, we don't look at them like addictions. I've been around people from college to now, so I've been around folk from 18 to 37. I'll be 37 next Sunday, which is crazy, but who believe in their heart of hearts, and I truly believe they think this way, that they can stop doing whatever they put their mind to. I got friends who drink, and they're like, man, I can stop drinking tomorrow if I want it, and I can stop smoking if I want it. I can stop doing this, and I can stop doing that. And I really, really believe that most people believe that. I don't even think they lying. I think they really honestly believe that they can stop, but I don't think most people really understand how hard it is to stop an addiction. A couple of years ago, I've been dealing with health issues, and my doctor was like, yo, your cholesterol is bananas, you gotta watch what you eat. And coming from Philly, I grew up on pizza, burger, and cheese fries and chicken cheese steaks from Pagano's and Mama's and just Philly, and I really had to stop eating cold turkey, and it's crept its way back into my life, and I find out now I'm addicted to sodas and things like that, and I really tried not to drink them, but I just love soda. And I'm not talking about addictions like that. I don't think soda will ruin your marriage or things like that, but you have people who are addicted to alcohol, and I had a lot of friends in college who, be like, nah, I'm not alcoholic. I'm like, dog, it's 10 a.m. and you already had 240s. I think there's a problem here, but even then, people couldn't see it. And it's the same way that people can't see it now with their addictions. And a lot of people believe, I can stop drinking if I wanted to, but I don't want to, so I'm not going to stop drinking. But I've been around a lot of people who act different when alcohol is in their system. They're totally different people. They're people you don't want to be around. You don't want to be around when they're like that. And it's a situation where if your spouse, male or female, is out, because I know a lot of women who drink and just cut up, so it's not just men, but at the end of the day, who wants to be around that? That it's almost like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde personality. You know what I'm saying? And that's going to affect your marriage. Same thing with drugs. I know some people who, folk like Chris Rock said, to get high, we'll make up some stuff. We'll mix weed with this and that. And I'm from Philly, so about syrup, and we'll take some cough syrup to get high. So at the end of the day, again, it's almost like you're becoming another person. I've always questioned this, kind of off topic for a hot second, but even when people who are very talented, but they're only talented when they're high. And I'm like, well, is it really you that's writing these rhymes, or is it you that's painting these pictures, or is it the alcohol? Because I used to have people come through the radio station like, yo, I could rhyme, and I'd be like, well, spit something, and they'd be like, I'm not high. And I'm like, you gotta be high to be nice. So that's just an off topic for a second, but it's just to say how you can become a totally different person and do things that you think you can't do when you're not high, when you're not drunk. Pornography, huge piece. To do a little research on it, I actually Googled, addictions that can harm your marriage, and I was shocked that pornography was the number one thing that could harm your marriage. It's there's so many things that can harm you. And the actual scripture that Marriage Missions, where Roz and I are getting these 7 things from, was from Proverbs 25:28, and it's basically just saying, like a city whose walls are broken down is a man who lacks self-control. And I think that's really the gist of it, is that when we have addictions, we lack the self-control to stop it. And a lot of times we don't see how it can harm our spouse. Shopping, they were giving me a list of different things as I looked it up, and shopping is a huge addiction, and I'm sure, again, it's not just, I got homeboys who shop like crazy, and those things, because then that deals with the financial aspects. And if your husband or wife can't stop shopping and can't stop spending, and I mean, it's gonna affect your household. Bills may not get paid, car notes don't get paid, mortgages don't get paid, you get evicted, so a lot of times, again, I think the hardest thing when dealing with these addictions is we don't see it as addictions. I don't drink or smoke, so that's not my thing. So that's why whenever I'm talking about drinking or smoking or doing drugs, I gotta talk about folk, who I've heard from or who talk. And it's a situation where, like I said, everybody believes that they can stop something when they want to stop it. But I think a lot of times we don't see it as a problem. I mean, if your spouse is a shopaholic, they may not see it as a problem until you bring it to their attention. If your spouse likes to watch porn, I think most folk look at it like, I don't do it that much to become an addict. And there's such a negative connotation that goes on to being an addict that you almost feel like it has to be hurting somebody else. But at the end of the day, all these addictions can be hurting yourself. Even without your spouse to tell you you shouldn't drink so much, you're hurting yourself. Even if your spouse doesn't tell you, you stay on the computer all day. Like, another thing they brought up was Facebook. People are addicted to Facebook. People who can't do anything without updating their Facebook status. And while you're doing this, you're ignoring your spouse to death. You're not even paying them any mind, but you're connected with 500 people at the same time. And again, we may look at it like, and it goes back to that key word, we look at it like that. We've got to see how it affects our spouse. We may not have a problem watching porn, but if it affects our spouse, our antennas need to go up and we need to check that. We probably don't have a problem with drinking. We think we drink too much, but if our spouse does, because keep in mind, these are things that can harm your marriage. We can talk about addictions harming yourself and things like that, because I know folk who've been smoking since they're 12, now they're 50, and they're like mad at God, like, oh God, I got lung cancer. But it's like, you've been smoking for 40 some odd years. I don't really think God did that to you. That's what you did to yourself. So, today we're not really just talking about how addictions can affect you. We're talking about addictions in a marriage. So at the end of the day, it kind of ties into number one of putting somebody else's needs above your own. There are going to be some things that you have to stop doing because it's harming your marriage. And it may not even be an addiction, but there are going to be times that we have to stop things and we have to check ourselves, because I don't think we may even know how wrapped up we are in something. We may not know that we're addicted to Facebook, or we're addicted to shopping, because most of the times you're going to defend yourself. Like, I don't shop that much because my homegirl shops this much and she spent 3 G's last month. I only spent 1 G. So we can become very defensive. But I think, we really just have to check ourselves. And I think a lot of times with addiction, like, I know I'm addicted to television. We could just dead that right now. I could be upstairs in the studio making beats. TV gotta be on. ESPN gotta be on. When my pastor said we're fasting, I'm like, from what? Television, So a lot of times we can really, I say the challenge for this week is, I really don't even know if I could present it as a challenge, because it's kind of like, just check yourself, spend some time with God, asking him to reveal to you what addictions you may have in your life. You may not have any, but just keeping in mind that these addictions are not only harming you, they could be harming your spouse, and they could be harming your family. And at the end of the day, like I said, it kind of ties back into number one of putting other people's needs first. An addiction usually makes us feel good. Fridays out here in Maryland, I never saw this before because we don't have these in Philly, or at least when I was growing up. They got drive-in liquor stores, and on a Friday, the drive-in liquor store is just backed up, and it's kind of just like, it's funny. Y'all all know I love The Wire. One day Buzz was on The Wire, like, yo, how do you do this job and not get high every day? Like, how do you live life and not want to, drink away your sorrows and get high to forget about everything that's going on? So a lot of times our addictions, we don't really look at them as, number one, as a problem. It's helping us cope. That's really what it is this is helping us cope. It could be, hey, my spouse got on my nerves, I'm going to the bar to hang out with my buddies and drink. Or my husband did this, okay, I'm going to the mall. So a lot of times it's our way to cope with problems, and that's what addictions really are. So a lot of times and at the end of the day, we should be, and I know in a perfect world we would be leaning on God to solve our problems and help us, give us peace throughout these situations. But we put these other things in front of God to say, okay, this is where I can get my peace from. This is where I can get my relaxation from. And it's a tough conversation, but I think it's a good conversation, because you may find out that your spouse may be able to help you meet those needs. And that's the other thing with it. If your spouse is addicted to something, as a husband or wife, you've got to help them through that. It's the same thing with alcohol or drug addiction. You need a sponsor. You need somebody who, when you want to go get high, that person is there to talk to. And this sponsor is a 24-hour job. It can't be, okay, well, I have a problem, drinking. And it's 1 a.m, I'm thinking about money, I'm thinking about not having a job, and I want to go get drunk. And you wake up your wife like, yo, I want to talk. And she's like, I want to go to bed. It's a 24-hour job. So it's like that's the connectivity of it, that if you have an addiction, number one is just realizing you have an addiction. So that's why I said this week's challenge: pray, talk to God, find out if there is something in your life. And a lot of times we kind of know what it is. We may not want to put it out there, but really try to figure out what it is, and maybe figure out a way that you can get past this addiction. Because at the end of the day, you may not see it right now, but this very thing that you think is relaxing you and helping you cope and getting you through the tough times very well could be tearing you and your family apart. So that's my thing for addictions this week. Check back in with Roz on Friday for Fabulous Female Fridays to hear Dr. Roz get down with her feelings on addictions. Good looking for checking us out. Always tune in with us, tilldeafinfo.com. Keep it locked till next week. It's your man Kill for Mel Mondays.